robots that draw like humans, code that performs like theater. This is not AI as automation, it is AI as introspection. I'm Bhavyodhir Bharadwaj. Welcome to episode 45 of Genesis of Tomorrow. The following is going to be a conversation about art, AI, the soul, the feel, the ingenuity of creativity and creation, and much more with Dr. Patrick Tresset, an artist and researcher whose robotic systems create expressive drawings of humans, transforming galleries into performing art. And folks, if you're interested in such deep science and deep tech conversations and are able to derive even the slightest bit of value from the show, please support us by clicking the subscribe button so that we can keep improving the quality of the episodes and keep on bringing such wonderful guests over for you. And now, without any further ado, let's get right into it. Enjoy and thank you. And we're rolling now. Okay, so you began your journey as a visual artist and painter, right? Trained at Goldsmiths, developed a deep interest in robotics, drawing systems, the computational aesthetics of art and everything. When did you first feel that a line of code or that robotic system could be as expressive as a brushstroke and be utilized to create art?
Well, it's a long story. I was lucky that I had a computer when I was very young, when I was 9 years old. And I got fascinated with the possibility to create autonomous systems from the beginning. And then I became a painter, and then I got stuck with my painting, and then I switched back to using computers. And as soon as I started to program again, it was kind of natural. And it was really, when I started, it was really because I was stuck in my paintings and I had already invested big part of my life into that. So I needed to find a way to still be an artist. And yeah, I had the intuition I could do something with coding. But just because I think because I was in contact that young and they were very primitive, the computers, it kind of, it's my language. I mean, coding is, I express myself with that or with robots or whatever. I enjoy it. So that's also the thing. I'm fluent.
One very natural extension to that question then becomes how did it change your creative process in general? Because you said you were at a creative roadblock when you thought about this
Yeah.
particular approach, right? After introducing it in the way you express art, how did that turn your in general creative expression and workflow from your former ways and approaches?
Yeah, I mean, I was in my painting. I was stuck that I had lost my spontaneity in a certain way. I couldn't stand to see myself in the work anymore. And working with computers or code or at the beginning pen plotter, it enabled me to have a distance from the work. So I'm still in control because I do all the coding or I train the model. I mean, I'm always somehow in control, but during the execution, I'm not there. So it's a kind of, yeah, it's a distance from the work, which unstuck me in a certain way. I was too much I couldn't stand to see myself in the work. So using computational system gave me this distance that was necessary.
One other aspect then becomes that I was reading about one of your most recognized projects, the Human Study One, involved a robotic arm that drew life portraits of human sitters. The interesting part that I found to be very intriguing in particular was that the robots were intentionally designed with individual personalities, some nervous, some confident, some twitchy. How exactly do you design these quirks in a robot's drawing behavior? And what does it lead to in particular?
No, actually, it's very simple because robots, especially the type of robots that I do that are not
Mm,
realistic. You know, they're very stylized thing. There is still an arm and an eye, but
mm,
because they are so stylized and they are not industrial robots, people react to them in the same way as puppets. You know, with puppets, you put a sock on your hand and you do that, and then you did characters with a movement. It's the same thing with robots, because we are very good at reacting and interpreting movements. I mean, especially animal
mm,
or
mm,
whatever
mm.
movements with a purpose. We are very good. We are very sensitive to them. So a robot that looks nervous is just a robot that goes fast. Yeah, and the eye, because there is an eye. So if the things go fast and with not a soft movement, then it looks nervous. And same thing, a soft movement. So sometimes I accelerate the eye movement, sometimes the arm, sometimes it's just the pen going on the paper. And just by changing the speed of the pen going on paper, people interpret the robot having a different personality. I mean, personality is not that, but yeah, people perceive it. And it's just because it's very close to puppetry, the way we react to the robot. So what is
In a,
amazing.
I mean, in a world where perfection or idealism is appreciated to the extent that people tend to get compulsive about it, why do you feel such quirky behavior? Like you intentionally did that, right? Why is it important? Why do you believe it is important?
Oh, because it's so I exhibit the installation. So human study one, or I mean, I've got 7 series of installations in their performances. And I show them in museums or festivals and so on and so forth. So it is an experience for the person who sits, because the person sits for 20 minutes, but the person is part of the performance. So it has to also be interesting for the people outside watching it. And having those little details, people interpret the thing. It's like a play or whatever. So it gives more texture, more depth to the play. And also the people, so the things that those characteristics also have an influence on the drawing. Because obviously, if the robot is a bit nervous or mad, the drawing will also be like that. So you can see. So if you want, it's an ensemble of things that makes the installation an art installation, rather than a technological demonstration.
So it's again there's this aspect of you not just being a builder or an artist, but along with that, maybe also acting as a director of sorts. You know, the
Yeah.
person who's creating this entire interactive and theatric experience. Dr. Patrick?
Ah, you're back. Oh, you've
Uh,
switched to the other side.
yes. Okay, I'm really sorry. Internet
No,
issues.
no, it's okay.
What I
Where
was,
are you? Sorry.
I'm in India.
Ah,
You in England?
I'm in Belgium.
Oh, Belgium. Okay, right, right. Interesting. So, your studios is in Belgium, or like, do you do up and down from here to every other where that you present?
No, no, it's in Belgium, but I travel a lot for the exhibition. But my base is in Belgium.
Okay,
My
okay.
so,
What I was coming to is that you then have to create this sort of immersive and interactive theatric experience for the
yeah,
viewers. What
yeah.
element of you goes into this entire curating this entire experience, not merely from the perspective of an artist, of a builder, but also of maybe a director and a choreographer of sorts?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, it's a mixture of everything, because I'm still a painter, even if I don't touch the pen or the brushes, so I still feel. But also, yes, there is the staging thing, choosing the elements to create this experience. In Estonia, I don't especially like the word, but it is like a sculpture, like a theater, etc. It's a mixture of different elements, and but I am always present, so in the work. I'm involved in the work
mm,
also in the robot because I do everything. So I am in control of everything. So I have my influence on most things.
mm, mm. Again, an extension to this particular aspect, these performances are essentially turning these machines into characters, individual characters, right? Using physical embodiment or mechanical variants, or maybe just a timing to simulate some sort of presence.
Mm.
What at a technical level goes for you uh, into actually building such a machine from scratch? Like, give me the entire 0 to 1 kind of roadmap.
No, I mean, if you want, I've been using the same ARM architecture for 15 years. I mean, I've changed the motors progressively with better motors, but the architecture is the same I developed for the first prototype because it works. It's simple. It's very simple. It's very important because when I do exhibitions, sometimes it's 6 months long. They work 8 hours a day. So things need to work. That's why I think I'm booked regularly because the robot most of the time. No, but it's not. It's not a small thing. And after most of the work is on the programming rather than the building. Of course, the building, I clean the desk and things like that. But most of the work is programming and after installing and managing the studio. And and I do spend most of my time doing research or searching or research. Yeah, yeah.
Why, again, the when people are running after the kind of current demographic of using generative AI to generating art, and even I mean any sort of creative endeavor, you want an essay, you tell generative AI model to do it. You want a picture, a sort of catalog, you tell your generative AI model to do that. In that way, how does, okay, I'll tell you my opinion here. I think this trend has sort of made art, like the real actual art, the creative stuff, the unique stuff, even more pristine than it was maybe before generative AI was into the picture, because it's become even more exclusive now, that sort of sense of exclusivity.
Yeah, I don't really have. I use, of course, generative AI like everybody else. It's and I do research with agents for drawing purposes. But no, I mean, the thing is, I don't think that AI, generative AI, or all these things change anything to what it is to be an artist. You still have to answer the same questions, what, how, why, and how to make money out of it. Those questions, they don't change. It's regardless of the medium. And after, it gives casual artists or casual users more possibilities, but it was the same when Photoshop appeared, when there was phone on, cameras, on digital cameras first and things. It just gives more possibilities to people who are not artists to produce images, but images are not necessarily art. It's like a lot of the pictures we take every day are not art, they're just pictures. And it's the same thing with generative AI is it gives more possibilities to people as an entertainment, as a hobby, to produce images, as a pleasure, which is not bad. And after the artists who use generative AI, the good artists, the artists who are honest and do their job properly, they do excellent work, as they would do if they were using a brush or a hammer or whatever. I don't think the medium has that much importance. After, the problem is the production of crappy. It's far easier to produce kind of quality crap. I think that has always been possible. Of course, now it's multiplied and it's kind of but yeah, I don't think in terms of art, I don't think AI has that much importance.
I mean, even from the point of view of expressiveness, that emerges from AI to whatever degree,
mm,
that isn't really because of the model's internal cognition, but as you mentioned a little while back, from how we interpret or perceive its work or its generation.
yeah.
And
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, 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 yeah. Please.
no, because I am doing research with LLMs
Hmm.
as agents. So not, I mean, I use LLMs for writing stuff, like everybody,
Hmm.
but I use LLMs embodied in the robots to do drawings. And I work on this thing where it's storytelling. So we talk with the LLM and it's verbal. And then I can draw on the drawing and the robot also contribute. And we try to tell a story in one image like that. And it is quite surprising. And it's when I play with it, it's easy to get caught in the game. And because I use those a special thing, like it's still surprising. It's not like if it's using diffusion models, to generate images. It's really drawing, so it's really building drawings. And the stylization is unexpected, which is nice because it's a bit fresh. And actually, I get lots of surprises when I work with this system when I interact. I still don't know how to make an artwork out of that, but it's a lot of fun.
I mean,
I've spent a year just
I
working
was,
on that.
yeah. I mean, it is. I think it's severely important to just keep on playing that way, as you mentioned. I was reading a little while
Mm,
back about how now there are people who are using quantum technology or quantum mechanics to sort of, again, and what I read was about generating sort of quantum music. I do not particularly know how that works essentially completely right now, but that is something that is going on. Research is going on in
mm,
that particular forte as well. And I was amazed by it. Like something that is so theoretical, something like quantum mechanics, people are
yeah.
finding ways to create, again, art. And
Mm.
the very wonderful thing about art is you can express it into 100 different ways, with each 100 of them being completely different from one another, because there
Yeah.
are no bondages or foundations or parameters that you have to follow. And that okay, what is art?
Mm.
What is art?
All right. Oh, yeah, that's a nice one. I have an answer. I have an answer for that. Art, it's what gives artist a role in society.
Mm,
That's it. For me, it's that. It gives me my place in society and my purpose in society. After, it's certainly, art is certainly something else to other people, but for me, it's that art. And in the same way, it shows that what came first was the artist. The artist came before the art, right?
certainly. I mean,
So you can imagine the prehistoric guy tracing in the sand a circle with whatever, and the other people from the tribe looking and say, "Oh, it's amazing!" And the guy thought, "Oh yeah, I have a role in the tribe now. I have my position." For me, it's that. Obviously, it's other stuff, but that is the easiest for me.
okay, you know what, I'm curious about that little, from because me being, again, a casual admirer of art versus
Hmm.
you being somebody who's thorough in the depths of it. How
Hmm.
did art especially evolve with us, with humans? We evolved from the caveman period to now living in urban areas and cities and giant
Yeah,
skyscrapers.
I Yeah, I don't know if it has changed that much for artists. It's just artists have maybe done art differently because of the medium they had and the stimuli they had, but also with the way to make a living out of art. So, I mean, not to make a living, but to find this thing of the position. So, at some point, it was for religious or spiritual purposes because that was what would give the artist their role. I mean, it's totally theoretical and it's almost a philosophical thing. And then the position of the artist has changed, and because you have to find a way to to make a living, to find this idea of to be remunerated and to exist in society with your art. But after all, I'm not sure if there's that much difference between an artist from 1,000 years ago and an artist now. It's just because we have to sell the work or be remunerated that the thing might change. But otherwise, I'm not sure if the practice has changed that much deeply. But it's totally it's a
I mean,
philosophical
again,
rendering.
there was this massive discussion with people having polarized opinions when generative AI came up. And in general, when there's discussion of art and machine in the same sort of phrase, there is always this aspect where people talk about, can art truly be authentic if the artist is the machine? What is your take or opinion on that?
No, no, it's not. Unless you have artificial consciousness, so unless you have a robot in a factory that stop welding cars and then start to make a sculpture with this welding thing, the machine can't be seen as an artist. It's always a human who has the intention of getting the machine to produce art with the artist, with the author. Yeah, yeah. Unless you have artificial consciousness, which I don't think we are close to it, the author is always the artist, always a human. Remember, I was saying that unless you have artificial consciousness, a machine is a machine and won't be an artist. After, if, for example, people sometimes think that my robots have more autonomy than they have and say, oh, they're creative or blah, blah, blah. That's good whilst they are looking at the work and they know that it's art. Like, you go to the theater, when the play is in front of you, you believe in it. But as soon as you come out of the theater, you can have a critical opinion because you know that what you have seen is theater. And in a certain way, with art, it's the same thing. So if people think that it's like that, and in a certain way, at the moment, there are few artists who are doing things with AI. They call their work artificial artists. Then that's fine, as long as we know that it's art and that it's not true. That's, I mean, no, they believe that it's true, but for me, it's not possible unless we have this artificial consciousness. Or, but not everybody agrees.
Maybe again, is there any aspect or any part of you that demands for you to actively balance the artist and the technologist inside you, or is it something that just works in tandem for you as it is?
Yeah, there's no. I'm the same, but it comes. I was already like that as a kid, so I always had the mixture of the two. And I think it's because my mom did the Beaux-Arts, and my dad was an engineer. He was actually in charge of automatizing the factory. So I saw robots quite early on, and I think I just have this mixture, and I always had as a kid this mixture of doing mechanics, but also painting and sculpture and all that. And it's just what I'm fluent with. It's not. For me, there's nothing strange about it, just normal.
Another again, matter comes about how meaning is projected by the audience onto the artist. Like, let's leave aside the matter of whether the artist is human painting from hand or maybe it's a
Hmm.
system or generative AI. It's just in general how every viewer is able to attach a different connotation or sense of meaning to the artwork. How exactly does that work? How can one thing evoke so many different aspects of an individual's being into every other individual that observes it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think art is universal, so it doesn't touch. I mean, one type of art is not destined to touch everybody. There are people. It's good that there are so many different artists, so like that people can find the thing. And after, if the artist does his job correctly, that's the point. It's a profession, an artist. People often think that it's kind of magical to be an artist, or it's like it happens. It's not like that. It's why the old term master was very good for artists because you really have to master your medium. You are ready to become extremely professional. Because there is this idea that the artist just float around and things, but it is so if the artist does his job properly, if he's a good artist and so conscientious and honest, then it touches people in one way or another. It can be there are things that are very intellectual, some more emotional, but so there are different audiences. But yeah, if the artist does his job properly, it will touch some audiences. It's a job.
You are not solely an artist, you're also a researcher
Yeah.
in your particular medium, as you termed it right now.
Yeah.
And that obviously sets you apart from somebody who isn't a researcher and an artist. How exactly does that set the two categories apart?
No, I mean it's just because I enjoy researching. I really like the practice of research, and now like with my latest project, I've almost finished writing the paper, and I really enjoy doing proper research. I mean, with experiments like proper research. And the thing is, I don't even necessarily use the research in my artwork. I just enjoy it. I mean, it stimulates, and I use perhaps a little bit of the research into my art, but it's a nice practice. And but it is very expensive to do research if you're not in university because it's time consuming and it doesn't bring anything. But no, it's research is great. But a lot of artists are researchers in their own ways. Because there is always a part of experimentation and things. But after, when you use technology, it's a bit different. When all artists who use technology are a bit like that.
I mean, again, it's counterintuitive, right? To again see artist and a researcher as the same person, because and even though what is a must with being an artist is the aspect of experimentation, continual experimentation.
Yeah.
Formalizing it into actual research is something that is not much heard of amongst the masses, but it is again something that is setting maybe the stepping stones or the foundation for how art will be built upon or evolve in the years to come.
Yeah, no, it's not that that unusual because for a long time there was no market for computational art or art, technological art. I mean, high tech art, and lots of the artists were in universities and working as researchers in computing department and things like that. So the artist researcher in new media and computational art is not that unusual. Uh, when I started, when I joined Goldsmith in 2003, I went to conferences and all the artists were researchers. So for me, it's not that because of this field, because to make your living before, you had to have a place in university. And to have a place in university, unless you teach all the time, if you want some free time, you have to be a researcher.
See
And you
that.
see what it's
Yeah.
again a very practical thing. And artists can be good researcher. I mean, after there is a discipline and thing, but some artists work in advertising agencies or whatever in new media, huh, in computational stuff. And academia is freer in a certain way, but in exchange you have to write papers. But that's it.
See that is the thing. Like me, who's somebody from out of the field, right? The perception is that the artist needs to be this person who's living beyond the rules, beyond the bounds of structure and order, and just goes on their own individual whims and just, yeah, I mean,
No, no,
but
art is not like that. I mean,
yeah,
I think it's artists who present it like that. I think it's a kind of a cult or something. No, no, no. I think it makes this romantic thing, but art is a business first. Yeah, you have to run a business. I run a business. I have to run my studio. I have to, and I negotiate things. It is really, and I work, I don't know, many hours, but anyway, it is a job. There's no, a nice discipline, and all the artists who make a living out of art is like that. It is a job. It is, and the idea, yeah, of course, there is a part of freedom of things because you have to invent your own practice. That is the beauty of it, is that you invent your own rules in your practice. It's for you to define what you're doing, that is very unusual. But apart from that, that's maybe 10% of the time. The rest is just reality, it's dealing with reality and making those 10% something. Otherwise, it's not. Of course, there is this impression. No, I mean, it's a privilege to be an artist. If it works, it's okay as a life. But, except but it's a bit risky.
maybe, I mean, maybe just talk about that a little more, because for people who start out, umpteen times the very reason why they are not able to pursue art as a full-time career is because they are not aware of that particular aspect. Like, only being good at drawing or painting is not sufficient to build a career out of it. What
No,
are
it
the things
isn't.
that allow you to do that, to actually
Yeah,
build
yeah.
out a career?
You don't even need to be good. Um, no, I mean no, no, but to
Hmm.
make a living as an artist,
Hmm.
the quality of art is not necessarily important because I mean you can see there are a lot of artists that, in your opinion, for example, would you would see as not being good, but we still make a living. I mean, you can see. So, in a certain way, the quality of art is irrelevant to the fact that the artists make a living. Just making a living, I don't mean successful.
Hmm.
And after, it's a business, and there are people who are very successful selling McDonald's, or the business of McDonald's, and you have, Michelin first-star restaurants. So for the artist to make a living after a good living or amazing living, it's not related to the art. It's a
Hmm.
business.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
It is a business.
That's
And
interesting.
it's not even unfortunately. It's like that. It's just it's the thing. I mean, we don't. It has always been a business. I think there must have always been the need to convince people, and so it is a type of.
I mean, even I'd assume that even if you work somewhere as an artist, like you said, maybe in some advertising agency or maybe academy or something, even then it cannot really be categorized as a job, because you have to be sort of maybe a brand as an artist. You have to at least put yourself out there in that way, like that credibility, that portfolio, something of that sort. It needs to have that aspect of, okay, you know what, we are not picking you as a full-time employee because we need you to maybe take care of the architectural back end of our app, or
Hmm.
our, all those check balance sheets and take care of finance, or maybe the operations and logistics. No, we're keeping you for this creative aspect. We need you to add the glitters and glamour. That's the sort of executive level mindset, like how you approach when you hire an artist. So for the artist, maybe you are actually still a one person business then in that case as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I have assistants sometimes, but yeah, yeah, you have to. But it's not. Yeah, yeah. It's a one-person business, and you use yourself as well as the artist in the studio. But for example, I work for my company. I mean, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. It's not very. It's still, I mean, it's still a very free job, but it's still a job. And it is a business, so it is as stressful as any other business. Boy, and it's not at the moment, it's not in Europe, it's not what it was before. But,
Mm-hmm.
it's still very good. Yeah, yeah.
In terms of, okay, we talked about how art is not universal, it's subjective. Not subjective, it's subjective. Yeah, it's subjective.
Yeah.
In that case, when if there's a 18, 19, 20-year old youngling who wants to pursue art as a career, he became aware of the fact that I need to pursue this, approach this from the mindset of a business, right? It's going to be not just a hobby that I'll always be
Yeah.
goo goo gaga to do. There will be effort, continual effort that needs to be actively put into it. Okay, understood. But then comes the junction where you decide, okay, do I want to take formal education and pursue college because I want to do art, or do I just start with a career in art? What is the difference?
Well, it's a job, so it's good to go to study it.
But then,
It
is
is.
doesn't the
It's a highly specialized job, and like any other job, it's you have to learn it. And also there is that. So there is the thing, and it's true that if you start, I did as a painter, I didn't study, which is also maybe why I got stuck at some point. But after with the computational thing, I went to Goldsmith and they had an art and computation course. So I did study art after, but it is important because you are not the same. Your skills are not the same before college than after. And it is important for learning to find your way, for learning different skills, to be in contact also with other ideas, learning to develop and learning the business. And also there is the thing that so you build your network like that. So you meet other artists, other people who are going to be artists. And in art college, most of them, these students won't become artists, but some of them are going to be curators, some of them so that you build this network thing. And after, if you do a good school or good college, then you have the stamp of the college, which means that when there are grant proposals or selections and things like that, if you come from this recognized college, but people pay more attention to what you've done. But there is still the fact that it's a skill, it's something to learn. There's lots of you have to learn to practice the thing that the ideas development and things like that because it's not a question of inspiration, it's really a question of learning on how to find ideas, how to develop them, because that's the most difficult bit as an artist is to be critical of your own work. I mean, to be able to step back and being able to look at your work and have an opinion on it, it's extremely difficult because your brain just plays tricks on you. If you look at your own work, you think that it's wonderful. So you have to learn to evaluate your own work, and that is really a skill that is acquired. It's not. It takes.
how then from the point of view of the professor, right? Uh, at an art school, do you actually build or carve out each individual person's, each individual student's artistic aspirations, which are very different, can be very different from one another, some that may be very novel even as to how they approach their particular aspirations, artistic aspirations or artworks in general, maybe even in computational art itself. Like, there may be somebody who may be working with, you know, auxiliary or frequency or vibrational art, somebody some other tech stack. Like, how exactly as a professor do you just approach to all these different fascinating individuals doing such different fascinating pieces of work?
Like the same thing, you need to be able to look at the work with and explain, give feedback honestly, and to help them to refine and to see clearer what they are trying to do. Because it's what I was saying, that it's not by chance that things are good. Maybe the first idea you find it by chance or by inspiration, but after, to make it properly an artwork or a series of artwork or even a genre, because at the beginning people have to find their path, and before you find your first path like that's going to guide your career, it takes a long time. Often it doesn't happen at college, and so you have to be there for them and give feedback. That's it. It's mainly to give feedback to try to, and sometimes you can just provoke them, but it is another way to give. It's not. You have to find a way to show them what they're doing, because they are not able to step back on their other work. So you have to do, and after, when they're very young in the university, you have to give some examples. So normally there are introductions to different things, but that's different. It's introduction. After, most of the work is about yeah, trying to give feedback on what they're doing, trying to show it from another perspective. Because when you're beginning, it's extremely difficult to look at your own work. And even now, I mean, it's the biggest problem, I mean, difficulty for an artist is to have a point of view on your own work that is not necessarily objective, but that is helpful.
Roadblocks, creative as well as technical, since we are talking about technological art. uh, Creative roadblocks are pretty self-explanatory, but in such an intriguing intersection of fields. In your experience, have you ever come across a roadblock where the problem or the challenge wasn't the ideation bit up here in your mind, but rather how to technically execute it?
No, but no, it's where the research comes in. It's where the research part comes in. So since I've got blocked with my painting and I started the computational stuff, I never had any blocks except technical, where my research would get stuck. I would not manage to do. But in this case, you know, last time I got stuck, I spent 3 months and I really tried to find a solution. After 3 months, I didn't find it, but I found an alternative way to do the work, because in some way it doesn't matter. What is important is the work in the end. So and that's also one of the thing of art. You have to play with the constraints, whatever constraints are. And if you're not able to do something, you find another way to do it. It's not, it's not important.
For people who are relatively new into their artistic journey, how do they get better at handling the creative roadblocks? Because you completely rediscovered what art meant to you or how you expressed art when you had a creative block through carving out this entire intersection of
Yeah.
robots and art.
Hmm.
But like, that is, I bet that is not something that is very easy or a usual occurrence in people who just do creative stuff. It's tough. How do you go on about doing that as a young folk?
Well, just if they have to find a way. I mean, some people experiment, some people do different things. I mean, they have to find their own way to be unstuck. It's, they want to be
Keep
an artist. I
headbutting
mean,
the
I
wall,
would, I
right?
would, I would not advise anybody to be at the moment. No, it's not that. You just artists have to be artists if they can't do anything else. So they will have. So by necessity, they will have to find a solution. that there is this thing with artists is that it has to be a necessity. So if you're stuck, by necessity, you will find a way to be unstuck. It can be quite painful and long, but that is the thing. And if you can't, but it's better to find other things. But normally, artists. I mean, I don't really know artists who have been. I think it's another of those romantic ideas. The lack of inspiration. After, no, they are the same thing as the thing is, I don't think that artists are special. Like, I mean, I don't think anybody's. I mean, you find the same types of people in any societies, in any like among hyper wealthy. You have the same personalities and amongst bakers. That's a bit, the personality traits I think are the same. And for artists, it's the same. So if some artists are a bit depressive or have those fluctuations, and then they can lose their their motivation to do work, and then you can't find the inspiration or what you want to do. But I think that is those, and that is for like for any other job or things. You have to go, I don't know, running or go in the countryside and look at the landscape. Or Da Vinci was saying, "Oh, throw a sponge with ink on the wall, and it will inspire you." So, whatever works.
Digital or physical art, which in terms of maybe the lucrative money aspect, people, business, starting your own venture, in that aspect, which do you think has more scope in the coming future?
Ah, so I was at Art Basel. It's a big, huge art fair in contemporary art. So in the main art fair, it's all painting, right? Painting or sculptures. There's no screens. There's no digital art or whatever. So now there are. So I was in a small fair on the side where it was dedicated to computational art or whatever, and so you had, but it was tiny and with a small audience compared to the thing. So there are collectors, but it's very niche. It's like people speak about AI art like if it was something important. It has no. I mean, of course, it's important, but it's not. It's tiny. It has no. Now there is something good about people, not with my type of things because I sell installations, but people I also sell digital art, like files, and that is amazing because the collectors of this kind of art don't have all the problems that the big collectors have. Because they don't have a problem of space. They don't need a team of people to manage their collection and things like that. There's no conservation issue. So in a certain way, people who collect digital art are, there is something special. No, I think there are more and more collectors who collect digital art because the people are younger and more open to that. And there's also when there are families of collectors, but the children wants to do another type of collections than their parents have done. So there is this new interest in digital art. I mean, it just makes sense. I think it just I think for young collectors, it's not big deal to. I mean, there's still the problem of value because the market is very new, so the prices are not very high. But yeah,
What's what was one mechanical bug or maybe inaccuracy that you did not account for while you were doing your artwork, but you subsequently just fell in love with it? That okay,
yeah. I mean, there are lots of those. So there are some bugs. No, no, but there are some bugs that I keep because, in a certain way, if the robot works well, it works normally. Yeah? And in a certain way, style is what departs from the norm.
Hmm.
It's why you can identify. So you can identify something if it's not normal. And something that is not normal is something that has, I mean, not necessarily, it's either a quality or a defect. And it's in terms of program, if the thing doesn't, there are a lot of bugs that I keep because it makes this kind of unexpected thing, but because it's in a program or in a system, it happened at the same time, so it still has an aesthetic value because it's not random. It happens for a reason in the system. So it's still part of the. It's not random. I don't like randomness. So, yeah. So
Have you ever tried for one of your robots to draw you?
oh yeah, many times. I always use myself as a model.
Would exactly maybe have you ever thought about, because we talked discussed about how it isn't really the models or the machine's intrinsic cognition that brings expression or meaning to the art, but rather the observer's perception of
Yeah,
it.
it's both.
When your robots, when they drew you, what wasn't particularly your, maybe some particular facet that just made you go like, okay, wow, that's ravishing.
I know, but it's the first time. The first time it did a good drawing. I can remember once at some point, so many years ago, at some point, the drawing was good. It was not good, not good, not good for for a long time, and suddenly there was a thing. Oh, that worked. And that was amazing because I didn't. The thing is that the first time it did a good drawing, I didn't expect that I would achieve this that quickly. I mean, it was only a couple of years that I was working on it. No, yeah, it was 2 years that I had been working on it, but I was not expecting it to happen that quickly. I thought it would take me more time to find the right way, and so the first one was really a shock because it just happened. I mean, no, it didn't happen like that, but I did lots and lots and lots of drawings, and suddenly, oh, there was one that was right, and after, so I found a way.
What about right now? What is the most interesting piece of work that you are working on right now?
I mean, this thing with the LLMs,
Mm.
this storytelling thing, and now I'm working with multiple agents. So you have a art director agent and illustrator agent, and they kind of talk to each other and give orders. No, that is very interesting, but it's so time consuming, and no, I'm no, I'm able to transform it into an artwork. But so that is at the moment what I'm doing. It's interesting, but it's still not. I am showing it as an artwork because I need to start to show stuff. I've been working for a
Yeah.
year on those things, and I need to show because it also only exists because I work with things that are performative. So I need to see them in public
Mm-hmm.
because there is a big part of rehearsal for it to really work as a show, as a performance, especially when there people are going to have to interact with the system. That's very complicated.
Are there any maybe out of the ordinary challenges or uh, pitfalls that are arising in this multi-agent knowledge representation that is happening all around here, uh, in the context of generating an artwork than it generally happens with other applications of multi-agent communication?
I think I don't know because normally multi-agent systems that are used in the industry, so for useful purposes, not for art, they exchange formatted data. So like that, there's nothing. But a part of the way my agent interacts, there is this formatted data, but there is also speech. Oh, no, I mean, and the problem with those is the agents can get stuck. like they don't understand each other, or they don't respond,
Oh,
and then
okay.
they kind of get stuck. But it's just a little thing, and that's the thing when you have multiple agents is to get them to work together, especially if it's not exactly functional. I mean, if you do get them to do precise things, then that's okay. You know, if you use them really as tools, then that's fine. But if you want to use them as flexible, that there is a level of interpretation and things, then yeah, they can get stuck, it might be the same with tools. I don't know. I haven't read that much, and the problem is this. It's very new, and people don't communicate that much about. I mean, a lot of people communicate about agents, but not the people who do things with them. I mean,
Is
because there's a lot of secret stuff. So
um
you know,
I mean, tell me about this sort of range of interpretation that you are allowing for within these models architecture, because in the usual cases you try to lower down the amount of variable interpretations that a
yeah,
model can interpret, so that the communication is very explicit and
yeah,
direct
yeah,
and
yeah, that's it.
concise.
Mm.
But when you are creating this entire architecture that is not generating but creating stylized art,
Yeah,
producing stylized art, you want there to, maybe I'd assume, to have some sort of variable
yeah,
interpretative
yeah, yeah,
level.
yeah. That's the thing because also I want to be surprised.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I want to be surprised. So there are, so I mean, so the Illustrator agent has got tools that he can use and choose how to use, like draw circles, draw lines, draw zigzag, whatever. And even I managed to get them to create their own tools. And after, if you have a director, art director agent, well, he has to tell the illustrator to what to do. But then he tells it, for example, draw a flower in the top corner.
Mm,
But I don't want, I want the illustrator to have some freedom to draw the flower that he wants. And it's there that there are problems because sometimes the artistic
mm.
director wants something and looks at what the illustrator does and is not happy.
Yeah,
He doesn't
yeah.
think, and it's there that they get stuck. But I got something very interesting the other day. So I use language still to have this variability. So like that, it's flexible. But the problem is that you get those kind of things. But the other day, it went to the point where the artistic director really got unhappy and wrote in upper cases, "I have enough. I give up." And
Mm,
I found it fantastic because but that's the problem is that I can't use those kind of precise, really constrained communication between the agents because I want this interpretation. So it's why they get stuck. But after, you tweak the system instructions because it's with mainly I use in context learning. So I give images and things like that, drawings with instructions. But again, not rigid. Everything is open to interpretation by the system. And after I use system instructions to limit the capacity of the system. Because with LLMs they get specialized very quickly. I mean, it's kind of easy to specialize them, to shape them a bit. So you've used LLMs too. I mean, for agent product. For agent.
mm.
It's fascinating.
That it is. That it is. I mean, you're using LLMs to maybe try to put out a context, and then you're using all these different agents to communicate, and different agents who have got designated roles and sort of
Yeah,
representations that they are representing,
yeah,
and they're communicating, and then there's also this added element of individuality in terms of the decisions that these agents are
yeah.
taking. So I mean, yeah, really, really interesting. I mean, would love to see how this entire work of yours evolves over the years and over time.
Well, we're going to publish the paper because I've been for this work. I've been collaborating. I mean, I have this advisor. I've been talking
Hmm.
with a guy from DeepMind, and we're
Oh,
going to publish a preprint very soon. We are finalizing the paper very soon, so it will be published, and hopefully we'll find a journal to publish it in.
hmm. I mean, all the best for that.
Yeah.
Uh, what would you maybe say to a young artist or a young roboticist in this domain who's maybe afraid to or intimidated by the entire domain of this creative technology, sort of, that neo art kind of environment?
Hmm. What would I say?
Or, yeah, your advice.
No advice. Are you sure? No, I don't know. You know, it's the thing is, it's something very personal, and it's the thing is that I am in this situation now, where the thing is not. I don't regret anything. I don't
Mm,
regret having taken the decision at some point to be an artist and to dedicate my life to that. But it would have been. But now I see other artists who didn't focus only on the art, and they are not. I don't know. It's really a personal. It's really a personal decision, and but young people have to be careful because it's not an easy job, and it's not a job with security.
yeah.
There is absolutely no security, but there is no business where there is security. So if I give an advice to somebody who wants to be an artist, a young person or whatever, be clever with your money. That's, no, no,
That is actually such a valuable advice. Like, honestly,
no, no, but it's
yes.
a stupid thing of start to think about buying something as soon as you can. But it's
Mm,
true for everybody. But for people who are not going to have a safety of employment, it is very important from the beginning to think about being good with the money. By being good, I mean imagining that they are going to get older, so they need to think about it. But it's very difficult when you're young. But yeah, that's I
mm,
would have hoped for someone to make me understand that. That yeah, that you have to plan for things, especially living stuff, because that's what is important and what really enables you to continue to be an artist at some point. It's so it is maybe the it is an important advice that I give to artists. Actually.
important and necessary. I mean, yes, not only artists, but
Yeah, everybody.
definitely the artists.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
because
My
the artists, the young artists, it's not what they think. It's not the kind of advice they are looking for. But this is, I think, the best
yes,
advice is
yes,
buy
yes.
something as soon as you can, or think about buying, and that's it. The-
Not an advice that you would expect as an artist, but something that will actually enable you to keep on being an artist
Yeah,
for the long run.
yeah.
Definitely, definitely. Dr. Patrick, my final question to you is, of this little segment that we do, uh, what would be your word to humanity at large?
What? What I want to say, or what do I want for humanity at large?
Would
What
you
was your?
want to say what you want for humanity? I mean, how about both? I mean, no paucity of time here.
I don't know. I mean, humanity. I think humanity is humanity. It hasn't changed. We're still the same, I think, as we were as prehistoric people. I don't think that has changed. Yes. Maybe society has changed, and it's not even. Yeah, I mean, it has changed obviously, but At the moment, it's complicated. The world is not going is not going in the right direction. But then the thing to know, if you look at history, is that it will pass. It
This
will
too
not.
shall
It
pass.
will not stay crap. It will pass. If you look at history, it always gets better, bad. So, and it's not going to take that long. It's like maximum 10 years. For me, it's not good, but for younger people, 10 years. It's the time actually when times are hard or difficult. That's the time for artists to practice and develop their art. So for young people, it's good because like that they can focus on doing new things or finding their way when times are hard. But yeah, it will pass. That's what history tells us. It doesn't say crap for too long.
Dr. Patrick Tresset, thank you so very much for having this conversation, this entire deliberation and discussion. Thank you so very much.
Well, thanks to you for the very interesting questions. It was very interesting conversation. Thank you very much and take care.
Before